I'm Katrina. I still remember the moment when I received that phone call from my sister-in-law, Vivian. Her voice was filled with excitement as she exclaimed, "Yes, I've gotten rid of all your stuff. This beautiful house is ours now." I was completely taken aback by her words. She then asked with a smug grin, "So, how does that make you feel? Aren't you going to cry or ask why I tossed everything out?" I took a deep breath and replied calmly, "Sorry to burst your bubble, but just so you know, Ryan and I are divorced and I'm living overseas now." She stammered, "What? What does that mean?" I said flatly, "It means the things you threw out weren't mine. Let me take you back to the beginning. I met Ryan in college. We were both 20 at that time. Ryan came from a wealthy family. His father, Mr. Thompson, was a strict and successful businessman who owned a large manufacturing company. His mother, Mrs. Thompson, was a kind-hearted woman, but she had a habit of spoiling Vivian, Ryan's younger sister. Our relationship blossomed quickly after we met. As we graduated from college and started building our careers, our bond grew stronger. Ryan proposed to me, and we got married. We were living a peaceful and loving life together. Our families saw us as a perfect couple, though some might have thought we were a bit too gentle. Vivian and her husband, Leo, got married a couple of years before us. Vivian was 22 when she got married, and Leo was 24. Vivian had a very superficial personality. At her wedding, she made a comment that left everyone stunned. She said, "I'll only invite women who are less attractive than me to my wedding." One of the guests dared to speak up, "Isn't that a bit much?" Vivian replied, "Stop being jealous. You should be grateful I invited you all, especially considering your age. Whether Leo's friends see you as potential partners is another matter." Leo, instead of admonishing her, added, "Vivian, that's a little cruel. Even unattractive people have feelings." As a result, their friends started to distance themselves from them. One day, Vivian unexpectedly showed up at our apartment. She was 25 at that time. She walked around the apartment, opening doors without asking. Ryan stood there, frozen in disbelief. Leo rummaged through our fridge and asked, "Where are the beer and snacks?" I was shocked by their audacity. I took a deep breath and asked, "Excuse me, but may I ask what brings you here today?" Vivian munched on the snacks she had taken from our kitchen cabinets and said, "Did you invite Mom and Dad over to your new place? It only makes sense that I, as your sister, should be welcome too. By the way, where's the tea?" Despite my frustration, I prepared tea for them. A few days before, we had invited Mr. and Mrs. Thompson over for a specific reason, not to show off our new home. Vivian then said with sarcasm, "I bet you served them fancy sweets and expensive tea, right? Trying to stay on Dad's good side." Ryan and I were confused. We never tried to win favor with Mr. Thompson. Ryan asked nervously, "What exactly are you trying to say, Vivian?" "We're not trying to get Dad to like us." Vivian shot back, "You wouldn't be able to keep your job if you didn't kiss up to him, would you?" In fact, Ryan had earned his position in his father's company through hard work. He had gone through tough training and now managed a team. He always showed his father respect, but never through sycophantic behavior. Vivian continued, "I'm the center of the family and Ryan came later. So my brother should care about how I feel. If I get upset, I could have Dad kick you out of the company." After they left, leaving snacks and spilled tea behind, Ryan murmured, "What was Vivian trying to imply? That she could have me fired?" I asked, "Does Vivian really have that kind of influence over the company?" Ryan shook his head and said, "No, no way. You know how Dad is. He's strict, especially with family. I think Mom spoiled Vivian way too much when she was younger." I agreed, exactly. Dad wouldn't give her any special treatment. We were both left baffled by Vivian's behavior. Deciding not to waste any more energy on it, I focused on preparing for our move. Most of the packing was already done. Ryan said, the big move is coming up. He finalized the paperwork and arranged for the boxes to be shipped. I boarded a flight to Italy not knowing what was happening back home in the US. Once I landed in Italy and checked my phone, I was shocked to see over 10 voicemail messages from Vivian. Despite my reservations, I decided to call her back. I called her and asked, is everything all right? Her response was far from what I expected. She said, I finally reached you. Since you didn't answer earlier, Leo and I had a great time in your bed. I was at a loss for words. She continued, I'm at your apartment now. You two aren't here, so we're just enjoying the space. I was utterly confused and asked, our old apartment? Why are you there? And what do you mean had a great time with Leo? It turned out they had a spare key to our place, which meant they had planned this all along. Then she proudly said, I've gotten rid of all your stuff. I couldn't help but speak my mind. You've always been critical of others' appearances, even at your wedding. It's a shame, though. Maybe before you criticize others, you should take a hard look at the bitterness in your own heart. She mumbled in confusion. She boasted about throwing out clothes, books, and selling electronics. She also said there were photo albums with only pictures of Ryan, and he wasn't looking at the camera in any of them. She taunted me, so, aren't you going to cry and ask me why I threw them away? Won't your face get even uglier if you cry? I calmly replied, sorry to burst your bubble, but Ryan and I got divorced, and now I'm living overseas. She was in disbelief and asked, what do you mean by that? I confirmed, that means the things you threw out weren't mine. She demanded, but you and Ryan lived here, right? And his things are still here. How come his stuff is here, but not yours? I simply answered, I left when we got divorced. She was genuinely shocked and said, you two always seemed so happy together. I then revealed, the truth is, I divorced Ryan because of a request from your parents. She gasped. I continued, do you remember the photos you threw away? The ones where Ryan wasn't looking at the camera? She replied, yes, I remember them. I explained, well, those were taken by a woman named Lily who was obsessed with Ryan. Those were candid shots. That's why he wasn't looking at the camera. Vivian was taken aback and asked, you mean, Ryan had a woman who was interfering with your relationship all this time? I said, yes, she wouldn't give up on him no matter what. We tried to ignore her, but she was determined. We didn't even invite her to our wedding, but her father, who's the head of a huge tech company, threatened your father. He said, if you don't let my daughter marry Ryan, your business will be finished. After a long silence, Vivian asked, wait, is that woman Lily? I confirmed, yes, that's her. It looks like she thought their childhood friendship was something more. Vivian's tone changed. She asked suspiciously, wait, after you two divorced and you left, did Lily move in with Ryan? I said, yes, exactly. She gasped, then the albums, the clothes, the diaries I threw away, those must all belong to Lily, right? By then, it was already too late. She urgently said, hey Katrina, is there anything we can do? If you hurry over and explain it was all because of jealousy over Ryan, maybe we can sort this out. I reminded her, as I told you, I'm living overseas now. She complained, ew, she's going to be so angry. She always drags her parents into everything and never lets go of an issue. And to think I did it on the bed where she and Ryan used to be. I replied, it's too late for regrets. Honestly, it's better to tell the truth, don't you think? She suddenly wailed and then said excitedly, I know. I'll clean up and hide. I'll say it was all your fault. I sighed and said, that might be difficult. She asked, why? I explained, because Lily paid me $500,000 to stay away from Ryan. She wanted me to live my dream life without interference. I moved abroad for that reason. I've already told her that, but she worried I'd try to return for Ryan. So, she made me promise to contact her when I arrived here. I just sent her proof that you and Leo were in the apartment without permission. She's already on her way. She froze and murmured, "Wait," the intercom's ringing. Then the call abruptly ended. I suspected that Lily, along with her father's men, was already taking care of the situation. While Vivian and Lily had their confrontation, I focused on settling into my new life. Later at the airport, Ryan caught up to me. He said with a smile, "Sorry I'm late, Katrina." Lily had been watching us carefully, making sure Ryan's life without me wouldn't be easy. When we left everything behind and moved abroad, it was as if we'd erased our past. Meanwhile, Vivian, who had hoped to take over the family business, now faced its downfall due to her poor decisions. In the end, Lily forced Vivian and Leo to work for a company owned by her father, punishing them for their actions. Vivian now struggles with debt, while Ryan and I enjoy our peaceful new life together, free from the complications of Lily and the troublesome in-laws.